questions? Thank you. Okay. we'll discuss it as we go. I wanted to give you some fun for the day. Okay. Could I please call on Professor Gumede to come and report to you all?
Thank you. I can report progress. It's been very, very robust, but in very good spirits. With a great maturity among the leaders. It's been very exciting to see the maturity. And I think it's really is good for confidence going forward in the group of parties. So, I've got a text, so I'm going to read from a text, because you know what negotiations, after negotiations, you have to stick to the text. And the agreements that I can report first really is on the name, which I announced earlier, the Multi-Party Charter for South Africa, as the official name of the coalition. We've agreed on a vision for the coalition. I'll read it out. A new government to build a just, inclusive, and prosperous South Africa based on opportunity, freedom, and security for all its citizens. Full stop. The parties have also agreed to set governing principles. I'll start the agreement. Central to achieving the vision and priorities of a new government is the need to ensure that governance is underpinned by an ethos that seeks to promote South Africa's long-term best interests. We, the parties, undertake to govern in accordance with our said governing principles, which are a commitment to 1, the South African Constitution, the rule of law, and equality before the law. 2, decentralizing power to the lowest effective level of government. 3, accountable, transparent government with zero tolerance for corruption. 4, capable government that spends public money efficiently to deliver quality services to all. 5, caring government that puts people first and prioritizes the poor. 6, an open market economy. 7, policies guided by evidence, that they produce positive results for society. 8, redress our unjust past by promoting non-racialism and unity in our diversity. There's agreement on the priorities for the coalition government. 1, growing the economy and creating jobs. 2, ending load shedding and achieving energy security. 3, achieving law and order that combats crime, corruption, and drugs. 4, ensuring quality education that delivers opportunities for all. 5, delivering basic services to all through high-quality infrastructure. 6, building a professional public service that delivers to all and ending cadre deployment. 7, ensuring quality healthcare for all within a caring healthcare system. 8, building a social relief framework for South African households living in poverty. The parties agreed to broaden the number of parties in the agreement. So I'll read the text. The political parties present resolve to extend invitations to all political parties in South Africa that subscribe to our vision, priorities of government, shared governing principles, and the prerequisite to unseat the ANC and keep the EFF out. All political parties that subscribe and act according to these principles are requested to come forward and engage in talks to join the multi-party charter for South Africa. And the parties resolve that all of these political parties that are interested to join will be objectively judged. That ends it. Thank you.
That's a report back from Professor Gumede. What we're going to do now is each head of the political party is going to just come and give a short message, and we're going to start with Mr. Christopher Claassen, President of Spectrum National Party.
Good evening, South Africa. What an honor to be part of this new multi-party charter for South Africa. There is hope for all South African citizens. This package really, I'm so impressed to be the leader of Spectrum National Party and to work alongside with the political parties who are part of this multi-party charter for South Africa. Today has been a great day, and sometimes you need to disagree to agree, and that is make this pack of this team so unique. And we believe that tomorrow, when we continue with our second half of our agenda, then we will share much more with you. So please support this movement of this multi-party charter for South Africa, and we can assure you that your lives will never be the same again when we as political parties stand together to remove the ANC from power. You deserve better. That is our guarantee. That is what we can offer you. But the power is in your hands. God bless you. And we're looking forward to share more with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claassen, President of Spectrum National Party. Can I now call on Mr. Neil de Beer, President of the United Independent Movement.
We used to sing a song. Yende lenjela si hamba yo. Indi lenjela isi hamba. Yes. For those that don't, uteta isikosa nomhlanje. That means it is a long walk to freedom. There's a long pad om vryheid te kry. I think today we started that journey. We are not looking behind us. They always say a CV tells you where you've been. I am more interested to know where are we going. I look at the leaders here today. Make no mistake, the barometer and the heat was turned off and on. But at the end of the day, consensus is agreed that this country demands better leadership, better solutions, better government, and a better country for all. And if this is the way that we can conduct ourselves today, there's a promise that ActionSA will be a better day to bring us to that. I want to thank everyone here of giving me the privilege of being here today, and I look forward to tomorrow. Advancements we have made, agreements we have done, but there's still a long journey ahead of us. And I look forward to seeing you in the media can ask what the hell they want to, and we will be ready for it. Siyabulela, Inkatha.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neil de Beer, President of the United Independent Movement. I now call on Dr. Zukile Luenga, President of ISANCO, the Independent South African National Civic Organization.
Good evening, South Africa, to all leaders of all parties that are here present and members of the pact, I want to tell South Africans that now, tomorrow, will never be like yesterday. There is change that is coming up with the like-minded minds. I am so grateful to be part of this arrangement. And this arrangement is biblically correct because in the book of Proverbs 13, verse 20, I quote, "He who walks with wise men becomes wise." And it continues to say, "A companion of fools shall be destroyed." It is so great to be part of the leaders of the political parties that have been long in the game, but they were never given an opportunity by the communities to take the lead. Now this is the time for that. John Herman, Baba Hlabisa, Baba Groenewald, you are capable of taking us forward. Take this South Africa forward. It belongs to you, like-minded minds. We are united as ISANCO. We are so proud to be part of you because now government will be led by communities, by the people, not individual political ideologies that have killed this country. I thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Lienga, President of ISANCO. I now would like to call upon Mr. Herman Mashaba, President of ActionSA.
Fellow South Africans, in particular leaders of political parties involved in this really tough but productive engagement. I honestly I don't think I'll have sufficient words to express how I now feel and how I felt in the morning, in the beginning of this process. I really want to really convey my greatest gratitude to all of you because 1994 when I went out to vote, I went to vote for a new dispensation, brighter future for my kids and my grandchildren. Unfortunately, that dream 29 years later, it almost disappeared. And I'm so glad that this afternoon, we've managed to rekindle that dream again. What we achieved today, without any doubt, historic. Something that in the morning, I was saying to myself, are we all going to be able to really reach consensus? Was it easy? What's easy in life? Fortunately enough, I was born and raised in an environment that's tough. That's why I'm a tough human being, because I accept life to be what it is. And us as human beings, God has given us these little brains to use to navigate those challenges. Members of the media, thank you so much for really being made to wait and really being with us to inform people of South Africa about the new dispensation, about the new future that we are creating for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you, everyone. Fellow South Africans, we are going to start a new chapter come 2024. I'm confident about that. Give us a chance. We still have tomorrow to finish our agenda, but I'm positive. What we're going through today, I cannot see us failing to achieve even further heights tomorrow. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you to Mr. Herman Mashaba, from President of ActionSA. I now call on Dr. Peter Groenewald, leader of the Freedom Front Plus. Dr. Groenewald.
Thank you very much and good evening for your patience. Also, thank you for that. This morning I said that we as politicians must set an example, that we as political leaders of its own political parties, its own identities, that we will take hands and reach consensus on how we can save South Africa. Now, I am pleased to say that if you have listened to the name, the vision, the shared principles and the priorities, that is proof that we as political party leaders took hands and we are putting forward to the people of South Africa that we believe that these principles and these priorities will save South Africa and will create a better future for all in South Africa, because that is what we want. And we're setting that example, taking a whole day. But it is not only a whole day. You must understand that these negotiations are actually coming over the last 3 months as well. Because I said it is an initiative of all the political parties. It is not easy, but I can say tonight that I am pleased that rational thinking of what is in the best interest of South Africa, its people, and our future, we have achieved that, and we are appealing to the electorate of South Africa, make our hands stronger so that we can create a better future for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Groenewald, leader of the Freedom Front Plus. I now call on Mr. V.F. Schlabisa, president of the Inkatha Freedom Party.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I firstly want to thank the media for being patient with us. Again, this afternoon, I want to greet the people of South Africa. In the morning, we set the tone that as we engage in the National Convention, we will ensure that we put the people of South Africa first. It is a great pleasure on behalf of the IFP to thank the media for allowing us to show accountability and transparency to the people of South Africa. What we are doing now is to confirm that the deliberations that we have been engaged in during this day have not only about us as political leaders, but about the people of South Africa. We have made a great progress in terms of giving a name which has been read by our independent facilitator, Professor William Gumede. We also agreed on the principles and values, the shared governing principles, as well as a vision of the country we all dream, which is a better country than what we have currently. We also committed ourselves to work and ensure that we definitely achieve the 50% plus one by mobilizing the 14 million people who are dormant and 13 million people who are unregistered, so that the 27 million ensure that we remove the government that has failed our people. I want to thank all the leaders with whom we have been involved today, because we have ensured that coalition is about compromise and finding the common grounds in the interest of people. We are confident that going forward, we will revive hope, progress, and prosperity to the people of South Africa, and we commit to do the best we can to make their dreams that has been destroyed to be reawakened and build South Africa that we'll all be proud of. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much to Mr. Schlabisa, President of the IFP. And then the next speaker is Mr. John Steenhuisen, Federal Leader of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you very much, and good evening to the fellow leaders and the members of the media and those watching at home. When I opened my remarks this morning, I said very clearly that while there'd be politicians sitting around the table, this was actually about the people of South Africa. And I think that any South African sitting at home, worried about the future, worried about their children, worried about whether they can find work, worried about the high rate of crime in the country, worried about the fact that the lights are off in large parts of South Africa as we speak, that help is on the way. Because what we've done today is to lay the foundations of a new majority in South Africa that is going to sweep the ANC out of power and usher in a new government that puts people ahead of politicians. The robust engagements that we've had today have been robust, but certainly sincere. And it has been great to be able to share a negotiating table with the teams from the other parties. But also, I want to pay a special thank you to Professor Gumede, who I'm sure his experience of most politicians is them fighting like a bunch of cats in a sack. But he took the courage to put his hand into the sack today, and I think he's been himself surprised with what has come out of it. So thank you very much, Prof. Gumede and your team. Obviously, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I think that the step that we've taken today, together, determinedly, and with vigor, represented in this alternative program, which will continue to be fleshed out as we continue, just as it has been worked on for the last 11 weeks, is a beacon of hope for all South Africans, that help is on the way, change can happen, and that tomorrow can be better than today. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Steenhuisen, Federal Leader of the Democratic Alliance. Okay, I have consulted Professor Gumede as the independent chairperson, and he will take 2 questions on behalf of everyone. So hands up, not the people who spoke this morning. Okay, this gentleman 1, 2, okay. Okay, 3, okay, so, but I'm going to ask the people who didn't speak, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I've missed, okay, right. See, that's when the problem comes in. Okay, so let's not waste time because we want to continue. Can we pass the roving mic? I'm going to ask for 2 questions to be posed, and then Professor Gumede will reply, and then the next 2 questions to be posed, and we'll see how we're going from there. Thank you very much. And please can I ask you to identify who you are and what news channel or what newspaper you're from. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And good evening to everyone in the top table and my colleagues at this side. My name is Mawande. I work for the Sunday World. Perhaps the first question, well, it will depend who answers the question. I'll just shoot the question.
Only Professor Gumede is going to answer the question.
Okay. Mr. Steenhuisen talks about while there were politicians around the table, this is about South Africans. And the question I have with regards to that, why is it as a South African at home must I trust that these particular political parties are the ones that have my interest and not the ones that are being kept out in the form of the ANC and the EFF? And then number 2, on that question of the EFF and the ANC, it does appear at a higher level that this is a conglomeration or a coalition that seeks only to stop the ANC and the EFF, yet on the other side you talk about being free to consult. Also, what is wrong with the EFF, which is not in government, which has never governed, at least at the country level, since its formation changes?
Okay, thank you. A lady next to you.
Hi, Inkatha from the Mail and Guardian. I really would love for these questions to be posed to the political leaders, but in any case,
I'm just going to explain. We're in the middle of negotiations, and it's better they will answer them all tomorrow. Okay.
Mr. Claassen did say that the engagements were heated at some stage not. Just to clarify, what were the sticking points that led to the heat in the room? Just John, I would have really liked for John to answer this question, and it's around the agreement that has been made that all parties are now invited, they expanded this coalition. There's a patriotic alliance which has been a sticking point. Is this a party that now you will objectively look at in terms of joining. And Prof.
Guys, one question. Everybody's asking 3, but one more, okay?
I'm supposed to. But Prof, in terms of, because what it seems like from just hearing all the political party leaders, it seems like it's at its finality, this engagement. What more do you have to discuss? And I ask this because there's been statements that were made, particularly by Mr. Groenewald, around a black president. Will this form part of the discussions? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Professor Gumede.
Thank you for the questions. Obviously, I can't respond on behalf of the politicians here, so it's just what it is. So I can only speak what is in my remit, what is in my mandate. Maybe just to start with, I think I'll start with the sticking points. Okay, so one of the big issues really is just in terms of broadening the parties in the agreement, in terms of engaging with other parties, with other opposition parties, and I think that's the best way that I can describe it. It was a critical issue in terms of how would a coalition look like? Is a coalition, will it just be the core group? Would it be extended group? And if it's an extended group, what kind of other political parties would be part of it? And how do you choose what parties would be part of it? How do you come up with criteria? How do you come up with the values, shared values? And then how do you engage? Who gets the mandate to engage? And so on. And so that really has been among sticky points. Obviously, it's been resolved. So it's a significant, I think it's an absolutely significant victory for the group. Agreement, significant consensus as they build the largest opposition coalition that is possible based on shared values. Okay. There was a question in terms of, it's a question directed to the politicians, so I am here to respond as an independent chairperson. It was is the coalition being built to oppose the ANC and the EFF. So obviously I can't respond to that because it's a political question, but I can respond in terms of my own guidance to the coalition partners. Essentially, when one builds an effective coalition, a competitive coalition, it is not against other parties. It is you build a compelling vision for the future. And something that can compel ordinary citizens, those who haven't voted before, those who feel dejected, those who feel hopeless, that becomes really the platform of any coalition. And that really is my job. And as a person who would advise the coalition partners, it really is how do they build a compelling alternative vision. Which is convincing and which sounds credible and which is authoritative and which is not standing against something but stands for something. And that historically, if you look at all the last 50 years or so of victorious coalitions outside South Africa, has always been based on a compelling vision for something, because you have to win the hearts and minds and souls of people with something positive. Not on the negative side.
Thank you, Professor Gumede. We said 2 more questions. So the gentleman at the back there, I know he's... Okay, thank you. And then,
All right, Tricky Jones, ENCA. Just first question, just wanted more clarity as to which parties in line with the vision will the invitation be extended to. And just in regards to some of those who the invite should be extended to, we get a sense that, of course, ActionSA has called for the Patriotic Alliance to actually be part of this coalition. Can you confirm that as well? And thirdly, if the coalition were to unseat the ANC, who would lead the coalition? Because we've seen this happening in Johannesburg, where ActionSA really had a problem working with the DA in terms of having to select a leader who would lead the coalition. So how would you resolve this as well? Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'm a bit concerned that journalists can't count, but okay, the final question, and Prof. Committee will respond, as you know, as the independent chairperson.
It's Natasha Purika from SABC News. Just as a follow-up to today's question, I think the question is how will it work, this coalition? And as you said, will one political leader, party leader actually lead the entire pact? Was this discussed? And furthermore, just one more please, the agreement that you have, is it binding or not to these parties? And what happens if one political party leader decides, listen, I'm pulling out of this? What happens then? Thank you.
Again, I'm going to respond, obviously not as a politician, because I'm not a politician. Let me start just in terms of whether it is binding or not. So the parties to the agreement, like the parties to any agreement, there's obviously political parties can exit an agreement, but it's, I mean, from an accountability point of view, from a responsibility point of view, from a moral point of view, when parties sign up to agreements, and agreements has been with such a struggle to get those agreements, there is the assumption there will be, it's honest, it's done on an honest basis. And there is an assumption that people are responsible and grown up and mature. And that the parties are also mature, because if a party wants to govern as a coalition, it has to be maturity, and it has to be honesty, and it has to be integrity. So exiting after agreeing on a set of principles really is absolutely irresponsible, and perhaps that party then does not belong in a coalition. Okay? So that's my response. Again, that's not a politician's response. That's a response. Sorry, different choices. To which parties, the extension to the political parties, to which are the parties. Really, the ambit was very, very broad, and the ambit has been in terms of what would be the shared values, and then connect the shared values to the invitation, and set of criteria of these are the values. And if parties agree to those values, and if they act according to those values, that's the idea. There would be a conversation with them. Now, yes, there's a convention. Obviously, the negotiations has been ahead of the convention, and some of the sticky points was discussed today, or agreed upon today, or wrestled today, really wrestled to get agreements, and tomorrow is another day. There's still some critical issues outstanding, although today was an absolutely significant day, really substantial issues to hold a coalition. They can both a coalition. Essentially, the coalition has been built based on today. There is a coalition, and it will be, this is the first pre-electoral coalition in the modern era of South Africa as actually being consolidated today. Yes, there's tomorrow, there's some also sticky issues, difficult, tricky issues, but the core, the foundations have been laid, and the pillars has been set. Essentially now is to, when you build all the other parts of a house, once the foundations are there and they're solid, the pillars are there, you've got your roof on top, and then you add. And I think that's what the rest of the negotiations is going to be about. And sometimes even when you build a wall, it's not always easy. Some tricky things even in that space. So the extension really is based on values. I mean, the tough conversation was what would be the values. That was a tough one, and now it is just in terms of engaging with political parties that would say those values. Who would lead a coalition? Those would be part of the conversations going forwards. Obviously, and again, I'm going to talk to you against the chair. Perhaps other examples outside. There's different ways of looking at a coalition. Either one look at or the leadership of a coalition is either from among the group or alternatively from outside the group. But those are the discussions that they're still part of the present and the future. Hasn't been discussed over this period, but clearly is going to be part of the discussions going forward. But I am as the chair, the maturity of the leaders, for me, has been quite profound. These are it's very difficult negotiations. These are parties with different policies, different outlooks, different histories, trying to come together on a common platform. It's not easy. It absolutely demanded courage, demanded party leaders to be brave, demanded they get out of their own past views and beliefs and belief systems, and even sometimes for them to get out of their socialization, their culturalization, the way individuals grow up, the assumptions of the world. In a negotiation like this, in order to make it work, you have to ask yourself all of those things. What is the bigger interest of South Africa? How do we secure the future of the country? And what you have to let go, which may be dear to you, but in order to build the country and to build the future. It is a very, very hard and it's very, very tough decisions. And it always have to be done in honesty. So compromises are not easy. So it's really, I think I have to commend the maturity today, from the opposition party leaders. Thank you, God bless.
Thanks, everybody. The political party leaders are going to leave. We aren't going to have a briefing tomorrow morning, but we will at lunchtime. And obviously, if we get to an agreement at the end of the day, there will obviously be a briefing. But through the media, through our communications, what they're called, communications people, you'll be told of that. Thank you very much for staying. Thank you.
South Africa, we're live here at the Emperor's Palace in Johannesburg, South Africa. Today was an absolutely successful day for the National Convention for 2024. The Multi-Party Charter for South Africa has agreed on a name, the Multi-Party Charter for South Africa, a shared vision underscored by fundamental pillars and focuses going into government centered on one thing, ensuring that South Africans get a new and caring government in 2024, unseating the ANC to usher in a new era for South Africa. We've just heard here at the media briefing from the leaders of the political parties represented here today, who have shared their absolute excitement looking forward into the day 2 tomorrow of the convention, but also seeing at the end what the conclusion is going to be. Absolutely positive remarks. Remember to continue to follow the conversation online. The hashtag is National Convention 2024. Like and follow us on our social medias, and we will be back with more updates tomorrow. For now, I am signing out. Ke karabo Lerato Khagau. Funane.